Will you pray with me? Almighty and everlasting God, creator of sky and of sea, grant us the special presence of your Spirit as we gather this afternoon to witness this change of command for HM14. We commend to your care and protection your servant Jim, who this day assumes the mantle of command. Support and sustain him, and grant him wisdom, sound judgment, and courage as he bears the burdens of responsibility known only to a commanding officer. Accept our prayers of thankfulness for the leadership of your servant William, who has earned the respect and the admiration of the sailors of HM14. For the discipline, dedication, and the devotion to duty that has marked his command, we thank you, and with gratitude we bid him farewell and Godspeed. Holy and gracious God, we ask your blessings upon the new captain and the sailors of HM14 and upon their families. Guard them from the dangers of the air and the violence of enemies. Bless their going out and their coming in from this time forth and forevermore. This we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Mr. Osweiler, Captain Gorman, and certainly family of the two members who are going to be honored up here today, ladies and gentlemen and members of HM14. Good afternoon. I have an announcement to make this afternoon, and I certainly hope that it catches no one by surprise, and that is that this is a great Navy day. It's a great Navy day because our ships and aircraft are deployed throughout the world doing the job that they need to do to keep this country great and free. There are tough jobs out there to be done, and there are naval aviators out there doing those tough jobs. This is also a great day for HM14, and I appreciate your being here to share in the ceremony with the squadron. And Bill, before I make the introduction, as you get ready to depart, I want you to know that I've thoroughly enjoyed having you here as the CO of HM14. Watching you mold the squadron and reach heights unprecedented before has just been a sheer pleasure for me. And I know you're going to continue those successes as you move up and become the Deputy Program for the Airborne Mine Countermeasures. And Jim, I welcome you aboard. The Gold Star becomes yours today. And I know that the pace that's been set for HM14, the successes that they've already achieved, is merely the beginning for you. It's now my privilege to introduce our guest speaker today, Rear Admiral Ronald H. Jesberg, Commander, Helicopter Wings Atlantic. Admiral Jesberg has had a distinguished Navy career that has kept him in the forefront of naval aviation, responsible for operational readiness of forces, planning for naval contingencies of the future. He's a veteran of over 400 combat missions in South Vietnam. He's commanded HS-7, HSL-30, USS Guam, and the USS Nassau. In 1985, he was promoted to flag rank and assumed command of the U.S. Naval Forces Central Command, being responsible for naval operations in the Persian Gulf. In 1987, Admiral Jesberg was assigned as Commander, Helicopter Wings Atlantic. As such, he is responsible for the operational readiness, training, and logistics support of Naval Air Station Jacksonville, Naval Air Station Mayport, VX-1, and all 25 helicopter squadrons in the Atlantic Fleet. He is also responsible for area coordination for all Navy matters in Florida and southeastern Georgia. Admiral Jesberg has seen duty throughout the world, and you'll find in his personal experiences, including duty in all the current areas of military interest, including Beirut, the Persian Gulf, and areas around the Caribbean. He wears numerous decorations, including the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry, the Air Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Bronze Star, and the Legion of Merit. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present to you your guest speaker and one of the premier leaders in naval aviation today, Rear Admiral Ronald H. Jesberg, Commander, Helicopter Wings Atlantic.
Thanks, Jeff. I think I may have to get a little taller wing commanders from now on. Commodore Harrison, Commander Arnold, Commander Haggart, distinguished guests, officers, men and women of HM14, families and friends of the Navy. It's always a privilege and honor to speak at a change of command, and particularly here in Norfolk. I've spent a lot of time in Norfolk, and I really enjoy my time here. Norfolk's a great naval base, and it's surrounded by great cities that make up the Tidewater area. It's also really a great place to live. Today is a great day for a change of command, maybe just a little bit warm, but you couldn't ask for a better day. And I'm really glad so many of you took the time to be here, because this is a very important occasion for both Bill and Jim. You've heard me say it before, and you'll hear it again, that the people are the Navy's most valuable assets, and we've got to take care of our people. But I know exactly how much the people in ranks appreciate people like me on the podium making comments, and that's inversely to the amount of time I talk. Because it's warm, I'll try to make it painless on you. But I don't have complete control because there are two speakers to follow me. So, the validity of standing at the parade to formally celebrate the change of command has withstood the test of time, and it's a time for the gathering of sailors to publicly reaffirm our dedication to duty, to reflect on those characteristics that make good leaders, to review past accomplishments, and to strive for even greater successes in the future. Outside the military, it often seems our society is reluctant to comment publicly on things such as duty, honor, and country, values that should be common to all of us as citizens. In the military, a change of command ceremony represents such an opportunity. A Navy change of command is very unique. It is a time-honored custom expressly for the benefit of the members of the command to ensure that there's no doubt in their mind who's in charge and who is responsible. You should also understand that when a naval officer assumes command, he becomes, above all things, accountable and thereby inherits prestige, privilege, and the burden of command. Prestige is to be called the captain, the commanding officer, the commander, the boss, the old man, or the skipper. The prestige comes in being able to lead, serving one's country, serving the Navy, and serving fellow man. The burden is inescapable, for not for an instant during his command tour can he escape his responsibility, because he and he alone is responsible. Yes, the prestige, privilege, and burden are traditions among men who choose to go down to the sea in ships, a tradition that is older than even the tradition of our country itself. But with responsibility comes authority, and with both of them comes accountability. And it's cruel, this accountability of good, well-intentioned men. But the choice is accountability or an end to responsibility, and finally an end of the confidence and trust of our leader. For men will not trust a leader who feel themselves above accountability for what they do. The enormous burden of responsibility and accountability of the lives of the men and the well-being of other men, often the outcomes of great issues, is a genesis which distinguishes commanding officers of the United States Navy from all others. More often than not, due to the protracted distance and the nature of fleet operations, commanding officers in the Navy are directed to accomplish a mission without being told specifically how to do it. Others may be advised by doctrine or past example about how to take on their task and how it might be performed. Or they might be innovative and just do something and try something new. But the choice is theirs, and that success or failure is theirs. Airborne mine countermeasures is a complex mission, and it's vital to the control of the seas and to the security of our country. To be ready when needed, the professionals possess the knowledge and skills to do their job and are ready when called upon. Such is the case with HM-14. I'd like to take a few minutes and go over some of the history of airborne mine countermeasures. Airborne mine countermeasures by helicopter had its genesis back into the Korean War, and specifically in the North Koreans' mining of Wonsan Harbor. In those days, the helicopters were used to conduct mine spotting ahead of the surface mine-sweeping ships. The success of these operations led way to further exploration of airborne mine countermeasures capability following the Korean War. It was clear that the mobility, maneuverability, speed, and safety of helicopters would be invaluable, but also clear that there were limitations such as endurance, reliability, payload, training, and navigation. In 1952, a Pisaki HRP-1 was used as a tow vehicle using some modified surface ship mine countermeasures equipment. These tests demonstrated the potential of a helicopter to do airborne mine countermeasures. As a result, in 1957, the Bureau of Aeronautics established a research and development organization in Panama City, Florida, to further explore AMCM. In 1967, almost 10 years later, 3 SH-3As were converted to RH-3As. 3 of these were sent to Panama City, Florida for further test and evaluation, and 3 were assigned each to HU-1 and HU-2 to be embarked on the mine countermeasure ships, the Catskill and the Ozark. In 1968, a detachment of HC-7 assumed the AMCM role in the Pacific Fleet, and HC-6 developed a similar capability in the Atlantic Fleet, using the RH-3As. Early tow experience with the RH-3As revealed that a more powerful and more versatile helicopter was required. An agreement was reached between the Chief of Naval Operations and the Commandant of the Marine Corps that the Marines would have an emergency AMCM capability. In 1970, the Navy borrowed 15 CH-53As from the Marine Corps, and they dedicated those to the Navy AMCM's capability. HC-6 Det 53 was formed in Norfolk using these newly modified helicopters. In April 1971, HM-12 was established at NAS Norfolk with 4 of these modified CH-53s. This was the Navy's first operational AMCM squadron with a worldwide response capability. In the spring of 1972, the U.S. extensively mined Vietnam's ports and waterways. HM-12 and Marine helicopters were called upon to clear the minefields off Vietnam and the approaches to Haiphong Harbor in Operation N Sweep. These operations were unique for a number of reasons. It was the first time we were tasked to sweep our own mines from a former enemy's port to allow their ship safe egress. This capability provided us leverage in the bargaining table to get our POWs released. In May 1973, the Navy received its first delivery of RH-53Ds, a new and more powerful helicopter which was dedicated solely to AMCM. HM-12 was deployed in Operation Nimbus Star in 1974 and Nimbus Stream in 1975 to clear Russian mines in and around the Suez Canal. In 1978, the Navy made a decision to form two new fleet AMCM squadrons. HM-14 was formed in May 1978 and HM-16 in October 1978, leaving HM-12 as a fleet readiness squadron. With two fleet squadrons in existence, operational taskings became wider and varied. HM-16 was deployed on very short notice in November 1979 to support the Iranian hostage crisis. HM-14 deployed in May 1980 to support Operation Evening Light in the Arabian Sea for 13 months. In August 1984, HM-14 deployed to the Gulf of Suez in Operation Intense Look, a multinational effort to ensure the approaches to the Suez Canal were clear of mines. In October 1986, the first HM Reserve Squadron, HM-18, was established here in Norfolk. The first of the new and improved MH-53 AMCM aircraft was delivered to HM-12 in January 1987. HM-16 was formally redesignated HM-15 in January 1987 and relocated with assigned personnel and MH-53 Echoes to Alameda, California in August 1987. In June 87, HM-14 received a short notice tasking to deploy to the Persian Gulf for Operation Earnest Will in support of convoy operations of reflagged tankers. HM-19 was commissioned as a second reserve squadron in January 1989. The future of airborne mine countermeasures looks bright. The events of the Persian Gulf have re-emphasized the importance of AMCM and a critical need for the U.S. Navy to retain this superb capability. Mining represents a real and formidable threat to sea lanes. In the past 2 decades, the U.S. Navy has deployed 5 times to utilize its AMCM forces. The mission is dangerous, time-intensive, and arduous. No air crewman in the Navy works harder than the professionals who man the ramps and winches of our mine-sweeping H-53s. AMCM will continue to meet the call anywhere in the world with professionalism, true grit, and a genuine sense of pride. I've talked about the past and briefly about the future. Now I'd like to spend a few minutes in the present and specifically on HM-14. They are an absolutely superb squadron. It's the people that makes the squadron function, but it's the commanding officer who sets the pace. And Commander Bill Arnold, through his inspirational leadership, has made this squadron a pace setter in the AMCM community. Bill Arnold assumed command of this squadron in March 1989, and in April the squadron commenced transition to the MH-53 while simultaneously maintaining a 5-plane detachment of RH-53s. This required a tremendous amount of effort on the part of all hands because HM-14 still had to continue training in the transition of their pilots, aircrew, and maintenance personnel, and at the same time keep deploying to do their mission. HM-12, the Readiness Squadron, certainly provided some invaluable assistance in making this transition go smoothly. HM-14 received their first MH-53 in May of 1989, and today they have 7 on board, and they'll pick up their 8th one next week. And they'll ultimately have 12. The last 5 RH-53Ds have been transferred to the Naval Reserve and also to the Active Marine Corps. HM-14 became operationally capable last month with a 4-plane MH-53 deck. When fully equipped and manned, HM-14 will be the largest deploying aviation squadron in the Navy with 50 officers, 570 enlisted men, and 12 aircraft. Since March 1989, HM-14 has embarked on 7 AMCM detachments. At sea, they deployed and exercised twice on the USS Guam and once on the Nashville. They've also deployed to Cape Canaveral, Lakehurst, New Jersey, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Each time, they executed their missions superbly. They've flown over 2,700 hours, accident-free, and they have experienced no lost work days or because of work-related accidents. Commander Arnold, you and the vanguards of HM-14 should be justifiably proud of your accomplishments. You're a great squadron with high morale, esprit de corps, and exceptional professionalism. Your strengths are everywhere, but mainly in your people. You know what you want to go, where you want to go, and how to get there. and you have demonstrated that repeatedly superbly. Commander Haggart, your background in AMCM eminently qualifies you, and your reputation makes you an ideal candidate to lead the vanguards of HM-14. Be innovative and have fun. I hope you and Darrell will have an enjoyable and rewarding tour. Commander Arnold, your performance as commanding officer HM-14 has been brilliant. You have had an absolutely superb tour. You have always supported your mission and your people, and you've put yourself into the job with zest, and you've met all of your challenges. You and Ginger have left a mark on the helicopter community, and a mark that will soon not be forgotten. Your next assignment as PMA 210 will contain many challenges. It'll take you into a whole new world. I wish you the best as you wind your way through the maze in Washington. I look forward to continuing our professional relationship. God bless you all and all the members of the vanguards. I hope you all have a great day. And Bill, if you'll join me for a minute, I'd like to publicly recognize your superior performance.
Admiral Jesberg, Commodore Harrison, Captain Goman, Captain Legal, other distinguished guests, friends, family, officers and men of HM-14. Welcome to our hangar. I have some people to recognize a little later for getting the whole hangar for us, and thanks for being here today. Thanks to Sinclair Fleet Band. Always appreciate you being here for the change of command ceremony. Always chokes me up when they play the Star-Spangled Banner. NAS Norfolk and Public Works, I particularly want to thank you for helping set up. I know that it was a especially difficult week last week with the Azalea Festival, and Captain, I had a great time there. I'm sure everybody else did. Of course, my favorite part of the air show was the MH-53E that came in and made just about as much noise as everybody else. I particularly appreciated it because although it was a Brickstone aircraft doing a fly-in when I opened the program, it was a Vulcan aircraft in a program, so I particularly like that, and a mighty fine-looking one at that. So I'd like to thank my family for being here today. My father, Commander Tom Arnold, USNR retired. My mother, Sue Arnold. My brother, Dave Arnold, Commander, U.S. Coast Guard, prospective commanding officer of Coast Guard Air Station Savannah. My wife, Ginger, and my son, Kenneth. Well, I've dreaded this day almost from the minute I took over. Jobs don't get any better than this, and I hate to leave. I knew it was going to be good when I took it over, and I can guarantee you it's met all those expectations and more. There is no better job than being the commanding officer of a U.S. Navy squadron. And when it's the finest squadron in the Navy, it's even better. This has been a tremendously challenging period in Vanguard history. The squadron has an entirely new look. Shortly after the last change of command ceremony, we took delivery of our first MH-53E. We had an acceptance ceremony here. I spoke at that, and I referred to the aircraft as big, powerful, noisy, and ugly. And it's all of that. But let me tell you, it's an awesome ugly. Nothing sounds better than an MH-53E when it's taking a strain on a tow mission. And there isn't a whole lot that's louder either. I was sad to see the RHs leave. I'm glad they're still flying. They've gone to HM-18, they've gone to HM-19, and they've gone to MAC-46 at NES Alameda. I know they're going to serve them well. I see them every day flying with HM-18 over here, and I like to see it. I'm also particularly happy to see such a great turnout from our neighbors over at HM-18 and from the reserve contingent. Over the last year, we maintained that RH detachment on 72-hour alert, supported mine countermeasures exercises up and down the East Coast, from one of the busiest harbors in the world, New York, Charleston, Cape Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale. I know those are arduous places to go. And fortunately, one of our strongest supporters, Admiral Jesberg, was able to come and visit us in almost all the exercises we participated in. I'm sorry to say he missed us when we were at New Orleans, though. At the same time the squadron was doing that, we were taking deliveries of new MH-53Es, more mine-sweeping equipment, better mine-sweeping equipment, putting it all together and making it work. Training the people, making the planning necessary so that the MHs could stand up and participate in those exercises and be ready to take over where the RH was and be ready to deploy. The squadron's grown from about 385 people last year to well over 500. That equates to a tremendous amount of training. We pretty much culminated that period with our detachment on board the Guam. We were able to take the 5 RH detachment and an MH detachment with us and simultaneously operate them, pretty much wrap up the career for the RH in the active Navy and stand up that MH detachment. The challenge for Commander Haggart and the Vanguard team over the next year will also not be easy. They'll be building 2 more MH-53 detachments and growing close to 600 people and 12 aircraft. As I said, this is not an easy job. These guys have worked hard at it. And the people who make this happen are an amazing group. Let me emphasize again, they've worked hard. This isn't easy. And the only reason it's happened is because of these fellows back here and the hours they've put in. I can guarantee you that there are a fair amount of Vanguard wives who will be happy when their husbands roll to shore duty because they put in a lot of time. I can't individually mention them all, but there's some I need to mention. AO2 Stigler, our Sailor of the Year. Also our nomination for Airland Ordnanceman of the Year. One of my favorites, Lieutenant Commander Marv Stroud's over there, and I wouldn't stand too close to him. I think this is the first time he's ever had a sword in his hand. We've got the corpsman over there close to him. There's always a special place in my heart, and I think all the pilots' hearts, for our air crewmen. The AMCM air crewman is a special guy. Okay? He doesn't push buttons and sit in a clean cockpit or a clean cabin. He works. He muscles around and wrestles with floats and otters. He climbs over around high-tension cables.
And then when he gets done with that, he does the daily and turnaround on one of these, and then he goes back to his job in maintenance. These guys work hard, and they're great. They hang out the back of a 53, 90 feet over the water, holding on steady and hoping the pilot up front's just as steady as they are. My MCM department. Now there's a group who can think on their feet. We don't have a whole lot of things written down on what the MCM department has to do every time, because almost every time we do it, it's something different. Whether we're operating off the beach at Lakehurst or up at Sandy Hook, New Jersey, or whether we're operating off an LPH or an LPD. It's always a little bit different, and those guys can think on their feet and act fast. Our 105 launch crews, great. My boat crews have operated in some of the highest sea states, some of the worst conditions, and I'm always confident they're safe, and they always get the mission done. For a while I thought I lost them in the fog off Charleston, but they weren't too far away. BM2 Winans over here. BM2 Winans is one of my best coxswains. He's the anchor for our football team's line, and he also happens to be the bosun's mate that everybody wants when they have a ceremony. But also Grammon, another one of those AMCM air crewmen I talked about. Works like mad, staying qualified as an AMCM air crewman, training new air crewmen, performing missions. On top of that, he works at MCM, keeps the sleds going, Q-14s going, all that equipment working. And on top of that, he went out and got qualified as a boat coxswain. I have a whole squadron of people like that. There's not just one or two of them or a couple dozen of them. There's almost 500 of them that are just like that. They'll do anything they can and more to see this squadron succeed and to get this mission done. All the wrench turners and maintenance, I sure can't forget them. They're the biggest bulk of them out there. You've put in the long hours, you've dealt with the frustration, and on top of that, you've aced every inspection that's come our way. You've kept them flying, and you've kept them looking good. And on top of that, you've kept them FOD-free. After the ceremony, when you get a chance to have a look at Vulcan 550 over here, or our sled second choice, or our rib boat, pay close attention to the material condition, because these are the guys back here that keep them that way. And they're like that all the time. We have second choice here today because our other sled, Willow's Baby, Sure Shot, are sitting on the Guam on their way up to Boston. There's a lot of people I need to thank and talk about. In particular, I need to mention Com Hell TAC Wing 1, Commodore Harrison and his staff. They have been supportive. They have been there when you need advice. They have done everything for HM14. And it was between the Wing's assistants, NAS Norfolk, and the surrounding commanding officers that made this growth possible. It was not easy to shuffle people around and make us fit. When we grew big, and we grew in a big hurry. HC2 in particular had to move out, shifted over to another hangar. HC6 moved to make room for them, and that's not easy. HC8 gave up some line space. It's a difficult evolution for everybody, and I certainly appreciate it. HM12, they back us up. They send us trained pilots. They send us well-trained air crewmen, and they send us well-trained wrench turners. Keep them coming. In the HM community, in the 53 community, we have to help each other out. It's a small community. There aren't a whole lot of parts to go around, and we help when we can. When we launched out of here to go to the Guam, the last minute, HC2 gave me an ox tank so we could get out of town with 5 up RHs. HM12 gave us some parts. That's the way things are in this community. People help each other, and I appreciate it. my first-class petty officers. They've created a brand new first-class mess, started a new organization, elected new officers. They're a professional organization, and they're the guys doing the bulk of all this training that I've been talking about. My chiefs. I couldn't be any happier with any group of people. I like the sound of my chiefs. There's not a more professional group of leaders anywhere. They make things happen. And of course, there's the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Command, Master Chief Calvin Lawrence. There he is. Master Chief Lawrence keeps me on the right track, and he tries to run herd over all those chiefs he's got working for him. And they had a message for me to deliver to you, Master Chief. They wanted me to say happy birthday. My department heads. I have been extremely fortunate. I have the 5 best department heads in the Navy, which makes my job a whole heck of a lot easier because they do everything. They think ahead, they plan ahead, they make things happen, they keep me informed. I couldn't ask anything more of them. The hardest thing I've had to do while I've been the CO here is rank them. The rest of my wardroom is some of the finest officers I've ever served with. They're competent, professional, and aggressive. And there's a whole bunch of them over there who are prospective commanding officers down the line. I'm extremely proud of them. The new executive officer, Commander Bing Jones and his wife Susie. Bing, welcome to the second best job in the Navy. My XO, Commander Jim Haggart, thanks for your support. Thanks for your hard work. In case I haven't made myself clear, let me say it again. I'm damn proud of every one of them. They're hard workers, and they do a great job. Jim, you're getting the best people in the world, and I know you'll take care of them. I will now read my orders. Group Birds Orders number 3469. When directed by reporting senior, detach in April from HM-14 from duty in a flying status involving flying. Report to NAVAIR SysCom Project Management Officer, Arlington, Virginia, for duty in a flying status not involving flying.
I will now read my orders. Bupers Orders number 3530. When directed by reporting senior, detached in April 1990, report as commanding officer, HM-14, Norfolk, Virginia, as his relief.
Probably don't need them, do I?
Captain Jesberg, Captain Harrison, Captain Gilman, Captain McGow, distinguished guest, my family, good friend Bill Wilson, officers and men of HM14. Let me address my opening comments to the members of the audience seated in the chairs in front of me. Please take a moment and turn around and look at the men standing behind you. There stand the 548 officers and men of HM14, what I consider the finest helicopter squadron in the Navy. I'm very proud to be standing here today as their new commanding officer. I didn't get here without the help of a lot of people, though. I extend my thanks to the officers and sailors I've served with in the past, and particularly Commander Duckworth and Captain Wazaleski. I'd next like to thank my dad, my wife Darrell, for their encouragement, their patience, and their understanding. Now, to the officers and men of HM14, I'm honored to be your new skipper. There are a whole lot of people seated in front of you today who wish they could be in my shoes as your commanding officer. I've told many of you that this is my third tour in HM14. I've come back each time because I like this squadron. In a relatively short period HM14 has been in commission, we've been part of an impressive list of awards and accomplishments. More so, I believe, than any other squadron in the Navy. We have recently completed 2 successful exercises, which have demonstrated both your skills and the capability of our new aircraft. We have the strong support of Captain Harrison and Admiral Jesberg, and the strong support of NAS Norfolk. We face a busy year ahead. We'll have several challenging inspections, in which I know we will excel. We have some interesting trips on the horizon, and a stand-up of the 2nd and 3rd MH-53 detachments, all while continuing to maintain the 72-hour alert contingency. I'm confident that together we will meet these challenges.
Let us pray. Lord, guard and guide the men who fly through the great spaces in the sky. Be with them always in the air, in darkening storm, or sunlight fair. Be with the sailors of HM14 as they seek to defend America's liberties. May they know your presence even when they are deployed far from home. Support and sustain the families of this squadron as they support and sustain the men of this squadron. Lord, hear us as we lift our prayer for those in peril in the air. Amen.